Greetings, Nightmare Stallworth. I've been compelled over a period of time to do a video like this. I'm going to call it Boxing 101 with Nightmare. First and foremost, I am a professional boxer. Very experienced. In fact, I got licensed back in 1997. What I want to speak on, things that deal with a lot of debates that I hear from fighters, trainers, spectators, fans. The first subject matter I want to speak on is a teacher versus a trainer. See, the word trainer is slung around far too often. And so many sideline people of interest jump in and call themselves a trainer. Trainer's not bad. However, to be a fighter requires a good teacher. Let me explain why. If you're a fighter and you depend on a trainer, you will always depend on having him or something in front of you, something tangible. Even if it's a heavy bag, speed bag, hand mitts, a trainer requires to have something in front of you. A teacher actually teaches you how to do it through science, through things like shadow boxing, which is the most important and effective exercise in a boxer's life. The reason for that is, for instance, if you rely on a trainer, the trainer's holding the punch mitts, he calls the numbers out, 1, 2, or 4, 5, or whatever the system is, and let him go away, you scramble looking for somebody to hold mitts. Or if a heavy bag is there that's hanging, you require for the heavy bag to be there to punch at it. Remove the heavy bag and everything is foreign. However, a teacher teaches you that boxing is not here. Boxing is actually here. I'm going to display why. A trainer holds the mitts, 1, 2. A teacher says, remove everything from in front of you. I'm going to show you how to throw 1, 2. I'm going to show you how, why, positioning, how you breathe with it. So when nothing's tangible, whether it's a heavy bag, mitt, speed bag, sparring, you can practice repetitiously over and over and over because repetition is the mother of all development. Okay? For instance, once a teacher teaches you, that's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You then can practice, whether you're in front of him, by yourself, at home, in a mirror, at the gym, repetitiously, over and over and over and over, right? To the point where you close your eyes. If somebody say throw a 1, you shoot it. A 2, 3, 4, 5. A 1 is a 1, a 2 is a 2, 3 is a 3, a 4 is a 4, a 5 is a 5. With your eyes open or closed. That's what a teacher teaches you. So when you practice on your own, you're throwing combinations over and over, developing your craft. So when a teacher see that you get that down pat, he give you a higher level of expertise. However, a trainer requires to be in front of you for you to hit something. So when he does this, if you rely strictly on the trainer, it becomes foreign. You don't know what to do. So always remember, skill is not just this. Skill is here. Understanding why, how. Understanding what to look for. That's what a teacher teaches you do. Throwing something in a specific way, that's what a teacher does. A trainer could just be right in front of you, give you about 10 routines, wear you out, send you on home, and say, I'll see you at 3 o'clock tomorrow. I can't respect that. Some people actually grab a bucket, ice, water, say, hey, anyone need trained? It's not a trainer. It's not a trainer. Don't get me wrong, a trainer can be effective with certain people, right? But in order to be a great fighter, you should require a teacher. I call myself a teacher, not a trainer. Okay? Another subject I really, really want to touch on because I hear these constant heated debates from fighters, trainers, amateur fighters, pro fighters, trainers, spectators, is hand position. Let me explain something. There are pros and cons to every hand position. Okay? So, in other words, there's no right way, there's no wrong way. Repeat. There's pros and cons to every hand position. So there's no right way, there's no wrong way. However, there is a template, they say, of a standard way to hold your hands. Some might say elbows in, fists up, chin down. I understand that. But through a period of time, depending on the fighter's attributes, speed, power, height, weight, reflexes, fast twitch muscles, style of effectiveness, that gets altered over a period of time. So one trainer should never ever teach all fighters to fight the same, because everyone's not built the same. Everyone are not blessed the same. Everyone don't have the same attributes. Okay? Pros and cons to everything. For instance, some people elbows in, chin down. Standard. Some people might say this is too low for your hands. If I bring my hands up higher, okay, my temple is protected. However, my body's open. Somebody can hit me with body shots unless I drop fast enough. That works for certain people, and other people, holding your hands up so high so long can create lactic acid over a period of time, and they don't think they'll be as effective holding their hands like that. In fact, sometimes if you bring your hands up too high like this, and someone's actually out punching you, as far as speed and timing, and hitting to get your arms while you're blocking it, you will not be able to get your punches off in time. So a person are forced to actually move this way to try to get their hands loose to throw a punch. Okay? Some people hold their hands below their waist because they got fast twitch muscles. Fast jab. Some of the greats did it. Larry Holmes, Ali, etc. However, I don't recommend that for slow fighters, because if you can't get that release in time from my shoulder to the end of my two knuckles here, somebody might come over with an overhand right. Normally, a person who carries their hands here got really, really cat-like reflexes. They're sharp and they understand the game, and they're taught that. As a matter of fact, they got to have great foot positioning to move on their toes while they shuffle and shoot it from here, so they can measure the distance between them and their opponent. Okay? We got other fighters like Floyd Mayweather, James Toney, the effective ones, who shot their punches from here, in which you have to be taught that too also. I don't recommend that for beginners, but after you understand it and you're blessed with those attributes of speed and timing and defense, then I recommend it. In fact, if somebody's throwing an actual jab, you shoot that. Someone's throwing the right hand, shoulder goes up. Somebody's throwing the left hook, which is a 3, you block it. Someone's shooting a 4, you can drop it or pull. A 5, you can turn. A lot of people don't like that style because they don't understand it, or they don't teach it, or they've never ever mastered it. So they can't really understand that it might not be as dangerous for other fighters that it is for them. That's fine also, right? But there's no right or wrong style, once again. Then you got certain freak of nature fighters like Roy Jones Jr., who used to lean, fast twitch muscles, and threw triple left hooks and spring off the front foot, leaping uppercuts. He was one of the most dominant fighters at one time. Yet, a lot of greats say he did everything wrong. However, everything worked for him. That's what made him reign supreme. However, if he held his hands up like this here, he probably wouldn't be successful. As a matter of fact, when you see him go from how he normally dominated for ages to here, he actually was knocked out by Glenn Coffee Johnson. Okay? You might see fighters who are really, really strong and durable, but slow, but got supreme timing with a style like this here. George Foreman didn't have a fast release, but he understood timing. And his forearms were so big that this style was effective for him. That's not for everybody, but once again, there's pros and cons to everything. Because if you can't get your punches off in time, that can be detriment. If your arms are down and you're not fast enough, that can be detriment. If your hands is too high like this here and somebody fires numerous combinations and you're not as fast, that can be detriment. If your hands are too high, somebody can go to your body if you can't drop in time. Okay? Now, boxing on your toes. Some people are fleet-footed and very fast on their toes. That's another attribute. A lot of times people are on their toes, some of them hands down, some people are hands up, some people are hands out. As a matter of fact, a lot of people carry their hands out like the parry punches and use a matador, jab and hook and throw it off the body. Okay? A person might say, hey, why is his hands not up? Actually, his hands is up. His radars is up. His reflexes is up. He's pulling, he's countering, he's slick. If you alter that style and bring back to here, sometimes it might not be effective for them. So there are pros and cons to everything. I hear a lot of people saying, Well, why is he flat-footed? Well, sometimes flat-foot people, right, are people who want and need a lot of leverage in their punches. They might not be fast, and they might have to weather a lot of storms while they flat-footed, while they slipping to get supreme leverage on all their shots when they turn. That works for certain people. That's not for everybody. Sometimes you got people, fighters, in and out motion, really, really fast, who might not be that much powerful, and they might throw real quick punches and slide and turn. Okay, maybe they wasn't blessed with a lot of power, so therefore they got to be fleet-footed. That works for them. To each his own. There's no good, no bad. Okay, you might get extremely talented fighters who are really, really short, and 80 to 90% of their opponents are tall. Bring their guards in like Tyson, when he's forced to bob and weave and underneath punches. Period. To stay cover up to get close enough to land his shots. Still, a jab was required for him to get there. However, that worked for him, and he was a freak of nature with it. I would not recommend a person's tall, especially my height, 6'4.5", to bring their hands up this high. The reason for that is because if I got all this range, if I kept my hands up this high, that would actually be inviting a guy who is shorter to me. If I hold my hands up this high, that wouldn't make any sense. You might see me from a period of time boxing here. You might see me boxing here. You see me boxing here. The reason why I qualify to talk about that, not only am I a professional, is I didn't start off boxing at 6'4". I started off as a small guy, a child. So I understood how to fight as a small guy. Once I grew a little bit more, I adapted another style. I grew up a little bit more, another style. Once I became a super fast fighter, then I rely on timing and finesse and slickness. It's times where I go extremely defensive right here because I understand it. I got taught this way before a lot of people heard about Floyd Mayweather, but Stanley Lester taught me this, and he got it from Georgie Benton, some of the greats. But moving on, it's these particular fighters who probably was an amateur fighter, not bad, but he probably had maybe 1 or 2 trainers. So he never turned pro to ever experience all of these styles, yet he has an opinion. Then you got a pro fighter who might have had 1 trainer his whole life and only know that style, and now he's training people and training everybody that same style. No good, because that could be detrimental. You have to train a fighter according to their attributes: speed, power, height, weight, strength level, etc. And you got a lot of sideline people who watch boxing, and they really, really, really don't see the fine line and understand it's the small things that count. And say, why this guy's hands not up? His hands is up. His reflexes up. He's fighting. He's a parrier. He's a slipper. Okay? You may say this guy is slow. The guy might be slow, right? But he's a setup artist. You might say this guy is extremely fast, but he ain't got no power. That might be true, right? Maybe he don't have a powerful attribute, right? And that's what's been working for him. You know, so I want to tackle that subject matter, period, because that matters a lot. And I've been compelled for a very, very long time because I hear so many different opinions every day from trainers to fighters to spectators about stance, height, weight, hands here, hands here, hands here, hands here, hands here, hands here. And at the end of the day, there's no right and wrong. There just is. And depending on the fighter's blessings and attributes, should depend on how they hold their hands. And once again, I always recommend you sit with some scholars. People who've been all around, different cities, different states, understood every style, fought different styles, probably have a lot of experience, a lot of different trainers, so probably started off young to climb the ladder to actually see this, because it makes no sense holding specific conversations to a person with limited knowledge or limited experience. In their mind, they only see what they see, and I understand that, I respect that, right? But if you take them to Cuba, different way of fighting, Canada, different way of fighting, the Ukraine, different way of fighting, United States, different way of fighting. There's several types of fighting in the United States. If you see them, and you take them around a shorter, stocky guy, a really, really, really fast finesse guy, a superior defensive, a slip artist, a person who walks guys down because he's extremely strong and he's counter. There's no good or bad, there's no right or wrong. If you understood that if Muhammad Ali fought with his hands like this here, he probably wouldn't have been Muhammad Ali, but he was finesseful. Later on, you know, his hands like this here, once he tried to pull off a rope-a-dope a few times, but I would not recommend that for a style like his. And it worked a few times, but later on cost him. Okay? Understood. If Roy Jones held his hands here, he wouldn't be Roy Jones. If Mayweather didn't box like this here, he wouldn't be Floyd Mayweather. If Iron Mike didn't fight like this here, and Iron Mike fought like this here, he wouldn't have been a successful Iron Mike. You understand? So, once again, there are pros and cons to every style, but there's no good or bad, there just is. Understand this. And my advice is to sit with some scholars. Study the greats and what made them so great. Jersey Joe Walcott, finesseful feet. Ezra Charles. Joe Louis. My favorite fighter of all time, Sugar Ray Robinson. Sugar Ray Leonard. Marvin Hagler. Larry Holmes. Evander Holyfield, who was a basket case, who had a will that was unconquerable at one particular time, no matter what skill someone had. So there's different things that play in power, speed, mental fortitude, stamina, endurance. People who probably had excessive hand speed and foot speed, but didn't have power, but reigned for a while, like Hector Camacho. You understand? So you can't equivalent a regular blueprint or a template of holding your hands to everybody. I see people walk in my gym. Why is his hands up? Because he's taught to fight here, from here, from here. Then I got other people asking, why is his hand so high? Because he might not be as fast. So he got to have him high. He got to block. He got to shoot him from here. Why is he flat-footed? Because he's a power puncher. I want him sit down and everything. Why is he so much on his toes? Because he's a mover. He's a matador. He got a fast jab. Why he shoot from the hip? Because maybe you can see it from here. When he's shooting from here, you can't see it in time. So at the end of the day, once again, my advice, Boxing 101 from Nightmare, is go back and study footage. Talk to some older guys, some old heads they call it, some scholars. Go study what made them great. Watch how they held their hands. Watch how they manipulated space in fractions of a second. And then come back to me and we can have a debate. Y'all have a good day.